Hello, and welcome to Bosch Technology Talks. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ann Insero, and I'll be the moderator for this webinar. Today, Tom Meckler, Regional Marketing Manager for Intrusion and Access Control, will be presenting on selling intrusion into commercial applications. Before I turn it over to Tom, I'll go through a few logistics. All audience lines have been muted to ensure quality audio. And we're recording this webinar and we'll post it online to our webinar registration page for viewing later. We'll take questions today via Slido. To use Slido, open a browser on your computer or mobile phone and type sli.do in the address bar and hit enter. You should see the screen pictured on the left. Enter the event code K591 to see the screen pictured on the right. Type your question in the box and hit ask. You can ask your questions anonymously or enter your name. By entering your name, we will be able to respond to you personally if we do not have time to address all questions. You can ask questions at any time throughout the presentation, and we'll answer them at the end during our Q&A portion. With that, I'll turn it over to Tom to begin our presentation.
Thanks, Ann, and thanks to everybody who's attending today. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day to learn about how you can sell Bosch Intrusion products into commercial applications and actually gain more sales. Some of the things we'll be talking about today will be understanding some common and relatable application solutions, identify some customer pain points and how we can solve those for them. We're going to share some real-world application solutions, which is really the important thing, to understand how all this fits into the real world, right? We will have some time for Q&A afterwards, and then we'll wrap it all up at the end. When we talk about intrusion in commercial applications, most people think right off the top of their head, oh yeah, that's a burglar alarm. The bad guy breaks in, the sirens go off, and we call the police. Well, everybody can do that, right? That's just a basic functionality of an intrusion system. But what we're going to talk about today is different things you can do with your intrusion system that help provide additional value to you and your customers. Well, who is Bosch? How do we know all this? How do we think that we're an expert in commercial applications? Did you know that 40 out of the top 100 U.S. retailers standardize on Bosch commercial panels for their locations? That's over 80,000 locations. All 10 of the top 10 Forbes 500 retailers in the U.S. standardize on Bosch commercial control panels in all of their locations. So if you see this list of companies here, all of these companies standardize on Bosch. Why is that? Well, we make a good product, we like to think, but more importantly, we've worked with these customers for a long time, and we understand their requirements, and we understand what they need, and we've worked with them. So if we had an issue that they didn't have a solution for, we would go and we'd invent a solution for them. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. So in addition to retail, Bosch Intrusion products are used in more than 1 million commercial applications in the U.S. And of course, retail is where we focus. Those multi-location, big box retailers are where you see a lot of Bosch products. But we also have products in office and commercial space, in banking, where we have some special features for banking. We've had some particular success in the education market, in government, and in military. You look at these verticals and you say, well, those verticals really have some specific needs. A banking job is really a lot different than an education, a K through 12 school or maybe a store. But what's interesting and what's important to note about these applications is a lot of them also have a lot of similarities. So for example, if we look at a commercial application and look at some of the similarities that they might have. Think about a building. Most of these commercial locations have lots of access points, lots of doors, lots of windows, and lots of different ways that you need to protect those access points. They're going to be protected differently. In most commercial applications, there's times when access to the building is free to the public, Anybody can just come and go as often as they like. So that poses some interesting security challenges. They have customers, they have clients, they have patients, they have students that are present within their facility. And I got to tell you, if I'm the loss prevention manager for some commercial business, I'm more worried about the people that are in my building than I am somebody breaking in at night and stealing a laptop. That's really what keeps me up at night. There's times when no one should be there, and there's different levels of risk day and night. So I think we can all agree that these are similarities that go across the gamut of all commercial applications. They all have these types of challenges, which sounds pretty simple, but we can find ways to solve these challenges that are really quite innovative. We're going to start talking about some of those now. Perimeter doors. It sounds simple, and it is, but the most common way for somebody to break into your building is through a door. That's the most common way for anybody to walk into your building, through a door. There's different types of perimeter doors, and they're not always locked. They're not always unlocked. There's a lot of doors that can be used to exit the building. Maybe it's in the back of the building. It's the employee entrance going out to the parking lot, for example. It doesn't have access control. It's not alarmed all day, so somebody can use that door in the middle of the day if they want. But boy, you want that door to be closed. There's a mechanical closer on that door, and there's some sort of mechanical lock so that the door isn't just wide open that anybody can walk in. Well, enterprising young people have determined that if they want to go out to the parking lot and not need their key to get back in, they can do something like stick a brick in the door, stick a stick in the door, and prop that door open. And now they don't need to use their key, and neither does anybody else. They can just walk right into the back of the building, and that's a problem. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a lot of stories, although we only have 25 minutes, so I'm not going to tell you all my stories. My daughter is a music major. She's going to be a music teacher. And when she was in high school, she was in the show choir, and she was in all the plays and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't have any particular talent, so what I did was I would come in and I would build the sets and I would build these things that would help the show be a little better. And one time, the show choir director asked me if I would build some tables that the show choir could dance on. So I built the tables for them, and she wanted them painted black. So I'm going to go into my daughter's high school on a Saturday morning, I'm going to meet the custodian at the front door, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint my tables. So we get there at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, no custodian. I'm looking around, no custodian. I'm waiting about 10 minutes, no custodian. Well, I know where the custodian's office is, so I walk around the perimeter of the school. I'm going to knock on the custodian's door. I didn't need to knock on the custodian's door. You know why? Because it was propped open with a little piece of a 2x4. So I walked in. I walked into my daughter's high school undetected at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Looking around, seeing if anybody's there. Nobody there. It's okay, I'm supposed to be here. They know I'm coming. So I walk up to the auditorium and I start painting my tables. About 20 minutes later, the custodian realizes that all the lights are on in the auditorium, comes in, yells, "Who are you?" Oh. He looks at me and he says, "I was supposed to let you in, wasn't I?" And I said, "You did." That's kind of interesting, right? I walked into my daughter's high school at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning undetected. Well, I'm dad working on the set, so that's okay. But imagine if I was kid with the Molotov cocktails. Or imagine if it was 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning and there was 1,500 kids in that school and somebody walked in undetected. That's a problem. Well, Bosch has a way to solve that problem, and it's a feature that's in our control panels called monitor delay and delay response. And what it allows us to do is actually monitor a door to see if it has been open too long. So that custodian door can be opened anytime they want. They want to open the door to go out and do something outside, they can go out through their office door, no problem. But it's supposed to close behind them so that the perimeter of the school is protected properly. If they leave that door open longer than a couple of minutes, they've probably stuck something in the door, and that's an access point that somebody can just walk in. Well, what we can do with monitor delay and delay response is we can set a timer on that door. If the system is disarmed and someone opens the door and leaves it open for longer than anywhere from a second to 60 minutes. A door like this would probably be 2 minutes. They leave it open longer than 2 minutes, we make noise at a keypad. We can play a message on the PA system. We can send a text. We can send a report to the central station. Somebody left the door open, so they go close the door and all is well. So what this does is it allows you to use the door contact you would have installed anyhow to add additional security during the day. Because usually that door contact is doing nothing during the day. It's just sitting there. It only does its job when you've armed the system and it's nighttime. Now we take that and we add even more security for when people and my kids are in that school. So that's really a lot more important, isn't it? So another way that we can protect doors, and another problem we have with doors, think of an emergency exit. You know, we've all seen these emergency exits at the back of these stores, these commercial buildings. You know, they're the fire exits, you know, do not open, alarm will sound kind of exits. Well, they're there for a reason. If there's a fire or some sort of event inside that building and people have to get out, they're going to need a free egress outside that door. A problem with these is that often they're in locations where they might get blocked. In this case, someone has put a pallet of boxes in front of that fire exit. That's a problem, right? Because that exit is no longer an exit because nobody can get out the door because there's a pallet of boxes in front of it. If the fire marshal comes in your commercial facility and sees that that has been blocked, they're going to cite you. They're going to write you a fine. And eventually they might even close your building. All those things would be bad. Well, did you know that Bosch IP cameras have video analytics that can actually detect when something has blocked that door? It uses a feature called Object Left Behind. It detects that it can't see the floor in front of the door anymore. There must be something there, and it activates a video alarm. Why am I talking about a video alarm when we're talking about intrusion? Because our cameras can actually be integrated with our intrusion panels over a network, which allows them to signal the alarm system that there's an event that needs to be reported. So somebody puts this pallet of boxes in front of the door, the camera detects that there has been an object left behind, signals the control panel, and again, now we can play a message over the PA, we can send a text to the store manager, we can make noise at a keypad so that somebody knows that door has been blocked and they need to move the pallet so that we have free egress. So that's a neat feature that you can obtain by combining one of our cameras with our intrusion systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about that capability later on. That monitor delay and delay response feature that we used for the custodian door in my daughter's high school was actually invented for overhead doors. And the problem with the overhead doors is somebody is getting a shipment from this nice truck here is backed up and they're going to take a bunch of stuff off that truck and put it in this distribution center. But when the truck leaves, you want to close the door. Why do you want to close the door? It's a safety issue. Somebody might walk off the dock. It's a security issue. Somebody might hop in through an open door. But also it's an energy issue. If it's in the middle of winter in Rochester, you might be pumping heat out that door. If it's the middle of summer in Phoenix, you might be pumping air conditioning out that door. Well, we can use monitor delay and delay response to monitor that door as well, but we would have a different timer. Obviously, for a door a person's going to go through, a minute is enough. But I need a half an hour to empty that truck, so I'm going to set that timer for 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, if that door is still open, the keypad is going to start beeping at you. Now, if nobody responds to that keypad beeping, we can actually have a staged response. So after some additional time, let's say 45 minutes, we can send a report, we can send a text, we can contact the monitoring center and send a supervisory event so somebody goes and closes the door. It's a simple way to just help that customer run their business more efficiently and more safely. And the nice thing about this feature is we can have different times for different doors in the same building. So for example, there's a man door there between 71 and 72. Maybe I want that door to only be open for a minute or two, but I want the overhead doors to be open for 30 minutes. We can do that in the same system through programming. Hey, we have a poll. So here's a poll, here's a question. I'm going to switch to the actual poll. If you're on a mobile device, you won't be able to see the poll. Sorry about that. But if you are on your computer, you'll be able to respond to this poll. And the poll is, can an intrusion system be used to monitor non-security events? So if you would go ahead and just vote and let us know what your thoughts are. Wow, we got 17 votes already. 36. Everybody's saying yes, 100%. We're going to let the poll go for just another few seconds. 55. We don't have any no's, and that's good. 62. This was American Idol. We'd know who the American Idol was, and the American Idol would be yes. All right, well, that's great. We have 100% of the respondents believe that a security system can be used to monitor non-security events, and of course, you're right. But we don't often think about these things. Remember, an alarm panel's job is to report things. Something has happened, and we'd like somebody to respond, so we're going to report it. Report it, how are we going to report it? We're going to send a message to the central station. Maybe we'll turn on a siren or a light. Maybe we'll send a text or an email. Maybe we'll just make some noise at a keypad, but we're going to report it. Well, there's lots of things in a commercial facility that need to be reported. One of them is monitoring critical systems like refrigeration, coolers, and freezers in a grocery store. So you can see this freezer here and all the stuff that's in that freezer, all this frozen merchandise. There's a lot of money in that freezer. And if that freezer goes above a certain temperature for a certain amount of time, that means that that food could be at risk of spoilage, and you got to throw it all away. So they have systems that monitor these freezers to make sure that they're at the correct temperature. And they do a good job of that, but they don't do a particularly good job of reporting that. So we can connect those systems to the alarm panel and make sure that not only is it reported, but it's reported over and over again until someone responds. So if you're managing a chain of grocery stores and you're worried about maybe losing some of your merchandise due to a failure of one of your cooling systems or your refrigerators or your freezers, we can help alleviate that by monitoring that and reporting it to the proper people that can respond. We can also use that monitor delay and delay response feature to add some, okay, here's your engineering word of the day, hysteresis, which means that if it goes above a certain temperature for 2 or 3 seconds, maybe somebody left the door open and they're going to close it. But if it goes above a certain temperature for a few minutes, that's a problem. Well, we can build that into the whole process with that monitor delay and delay response feature, so it actually has to be above a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. So that's kind of neat. Another thing that we can monitor that isn't necessarily a security issue are critical merchandise or high-value merchandise within the facility. Here's an example. It actually came from a department store. If you think about these department stores, your Walmarts, your Targets, your Kohl's, used to be Kmart, Sears, they always have the jewelry counter right in the middle of the store. Seems like a good idea to put all the high-value material right in the middle of the store unprotected. Well, hey, that's what they do, right? So somebody's working that jewelry counter. This lady wants to see that necklace. So I'm going to show her the necklace, or maybe there's one in a drawer underneath. I'm going to open up the case. I'm going to show her the tray of necklaces. And meanwhile, the case is open. Now somebody can just reach over and grab stuff out of that case and walk off with it. It's actually a common way to shoplift. You bring 2 people in. One of you stands on one end of the jewelry counter and asks to see the watches. The other one waits for the who's ever monitoring the jewelry counter open up the drawer of watches. And when you're showing me the watches, the other guy reaches over and steals them. They're not supposed to leave the cabinet open. They're not supposed to leave the drawer open. If that drawer is open for more than a minute, something's wrong. Monitor and delay response is a feature we can use to monitor that as well. And again, because we have multiple times it can be programmed, we can monitor their doors, we can monitor their overhead doors, and we can monitor their jewelry cabinets with the same feature. Controlling access within a facility. This mega store here has multiple departments and multiple rooms within the store. Some of those rooms might be the manager's office or the cash office or maybe the server room, the IT room. And we want to arm and disarm those separately because some parts of the store should be opened all the time and some parts shouldn't be open all the time. For example, the main part of the store should be open all the time so that guests can go ahead and do what they, and shop. But the cash office or the manager's office should be armed and disarmed separately. Well, we can do that with a Bosch panel. We can actually control which areas are armed and disarmed from one keypad, which is kind of neat. So if I'm the store manager, I can walk into the back of the store and I can disarm the entire store from one keypad. Well, that sounds great, but what if instead of a store, this is a bank, and I'm the bank manager? Now, when I come in the bank, even though I have access to the entire bank, I don't want the vault to disarm when I'm standing at the back of the bank. I want the vault to disarm when I'm standing at the vault. So I can set up the system so it works that way as well. So when I disarm at a keypad, it disarms everything except the vault. We can program a Bosch panel so that each keypad can be told which areas it can disarm. So we can program it in that way so that you can either disarm the whole system, disarm just the place you're standing in, or any place in between. It's ultimate flexibility for your customers. Protecting high value and sensitive merchandise. Another way we can control access and provide security is by combining access control with intrusion in the same system. And in this case, the example is a cell phone store. And in the back of the cell phone store, they have what they call the cage. And the cage is where they keep the tablets and the phones and all that kind of stuff. And nobody's supposed to go into the cage unless there's a manager on site. So if I'm the assistant manager, I can open up the store, I can turn on the lights, I can let customers in, but I can't go in the cage until the manager shows up. When the manager shows up, they swipe their card, they disarm the cage, and now I can go in the cage. I still need to use my access card because the cage is locked electronically, but because there's a manager here, it lets me in. If the manager isn't here, when I go to swipe my card to get into the cage, beep, it won't let me in because it knows I'm not supposed to be in there if that cage is armed. So it's a way we can control who can go where when certain people are in the facility. Think of a pharmacy, for example. Nobody's supposed to go into the pharmacy or where the Schedule II drugs are held unless a licensed pharmacist is in the store. So when a licensed pharmacist comes in and they disarm or they swipe their card, those areas are disarmed, which allows access for the other employees. Another real-world application is the ability to use your smartphone to control your system. And imagine that you are responsible for a bunch of restaurants, a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, and you find out that somebody on the other side of town has forgotten to arm their restaurant. You don't want to drive across town to arm that system. So you use your smartphone, you pull that out, and you can use a feature that we call remote security control to arm that system. Remote security control is an app that can work on your smartphone, your iPhone, or your Android phone and allow you to control the system. And because Bosch is really a commercially based company, we've designed this for the commercial customer. So you can control multiple systems. You can arm and disarm it in the same way you're standing at the keypad. So if I'm the assistant manager in that cell phone store, I can't disarm the cage from my phone either, just like I was at the keypad. You can control access doors from here. It's really a commercial feature. The other feature we have, all Bosch panels can send personal notifications. So they can send text and they can send emails. And you can select who gets those things. So if you're sending openings and closings to your customers, you can actually send an email every time one of their facilities opens or closes. Somebody arms or disarms their system. And they can be stored in a separate email address so they can always have access to it. But if there's a critical event, like someone has blocked the door or left the door open, you can send a text. You can send it to the same person, or you can send it to other people that might respond to that situation. We have another poll, and this poll actually has to do with integrating video into the intrusion system. So I'm going to open up the poll here, and the question is, how can cameras be integrated with Bosch intrusion systems to provide higher security? So I'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and give us your answers. And the answers are only using relays, only using separate software, directly through the network without special software, directly through the network, and through video management systems. 27 responses so far. Okay, we'll give it just a few more seconds. We're up to 42. All right, we're up to 53 responses, and we have 79% directly through the network and through video management systems, 19% directly through the network without special software. Guess what? It's kind of a trick question. Both answers 3 and 4 are correct. So everybody's right again. You people are really smart because you got the last one 100% right too. So good for all of you. Well, we talk about how we can integrate video into the intrusion panel. Why would we want to do such a thing? Well, did you know we talk about an alarm system, and its job is to report things, right? A camera's job, A, is to provide video, but B is to detect things. And with the analytics that are built into Bosch cameras, we can detect things like that fire door has been blocked, like someone has removed an item. They've stolen the Mona Lisa. That'd be a problem, right? Outdoor motion detection. Cameras do a really good job of that. So there's a lot of things that a camera can detect for you that can be reported by the alarm panel. And we actually have another one of these webinars in just 2 weeks where we can really delve into that. We don't have enough time here, but this will just whet your whistle to all the things that can be detected by a camera and reported by the alarm system. On the other side, the control panel, the alarm system, can actually trigger the camera to tell it what to do. Send me a snapshot of what the store looked like when they armed the system. Send a video to the central station to verify this alarm. I want you to run this analytic during the day and that analytic at night. All of these things can be controlled by the alarm panel and connected to the when it connects to the camera. So in these cases, this is a direct connection from the camera to the panel without any special software. It goes right over the network, and they can send commands to one another. Another way we can connect our cameras to our panels is through video management software like our BVMS. We also have some third parties, Milestone and Genetec to name a couple, that have integrated their video management solution into our alarm panels. And that allows event interaction, things like arming and disarming the system, a head-end display. We can support up to 20 panels per server, which is kind of neat. And we actually can support this on our NVR, so it doesn't have to be with special software. I believe I'm over a minute or two, but I want to thank you. And I hope that this has given you some thoughts on how you can sell intrusion into commercial applications and in ways that really provide additional value for your customers and aren't just about security, but allows them to run their businesses more efficiently and more securely. So really thank you all for all your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to turn it back over to Ann. Ann, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom, for that presentation. Now we'll get to questions and answer questions for the next 10 minutes. As a reminder, please submit your questions using Slido. To use Slido, open a browser on your computer or mobile phone and type sli.do in the address bar and hit enter. You should see the screen pictured on the left that we showed earlier. And then enter the event code K591 to see the screen pictured on the right. Type your question in the box and hit ask. You can ask your questions anonymously or you can enter your name. By entering your name, we'll be able to respond to you personally if we do not have time to address all of the questions. So our first question today is, when you connect a camera to an alarm panel, can it still be recording?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, and I always forget to point out that the camera is still part of the surveillance system. It's still doing its recording. It's still providing video for different events for surveillance. It can be connected to a Bosch NVR or somebody else's NVR. And this feature where it can connect to the alarm panel and share information with the alarm panel is in addition to all of that. So yeah, it absolutely can be recording. It's not dedicated to that combination intrusion function.
Okay, our next question is, does partitioning require a keypad for each area partitioned?
It does not. In fact, you can run the entire system from one keypad up to 32 partitions, or 32, we call them areas, but some folks call them partitions as well. But in our panels, we can support up to 32 areas, and you can run the entire system from one keypad, or you can have up to 32 independent keypads running each area independently, or any combination in between.
Okay, does the mobile app have a monthly cost?
It does not. So, well, it depends is really the right answer. Out of the box, the mobile app is free. And if you're using the mobile app over cellular, or you're using the mobile app to connect directly to the alarm panel over the internet, let's say through a static IP address or through a DNS name which we support, there's no charge at all. It's free. Now, we also have a cloud service that allows you to easily connect to the panel without having a DNS name and without having a static IP address. There is a slight charge for that per panel, but everybody pays the same, so I'll tell you, it's $2. It's $2 per panel per month. And if you have one user, it's $2 per panel. And if you have 1,000 users, it's $2 per panel. So the answer is it depends. If you're using our cloud service, there is a small fee. If you're not using our cloud service, it is totally free.
Okay, the next question is training related. Is there a level 2 class for higher end integrations? The differences between B and G panels and when to use them?
There is. We have multiple training opportunities within Bosch. We have a training website, and if you go to our website, you can click on support and see the training section where you can actually sign up for our learning management system. That allows you to take several online courses to get started. And we also have instructor-led training either in one of our facilities, and we also have ways to come out to your facility to provide instructor-led training, and that's where you get that advanced integration training with the control panels and the cameras.
Next question, when you are monitoring a door to see if it's been left open, do you need another contact for the burglar alarm?
No, actually, when you're using that monitor delay and delay response feature, that door contact can be used for the burglar alarm and for this feature. When the system is armed, the contact will alert that somebody's broken in if they open the door, right? It'll activate an alarm, or if it's an entry-exit door, it'll start the entry delay. When a system is disarmed, it switches what it does, and now it's just monitoring the door to see if it's been left open too long. So no, you can use one contact to do both functions.
Okay, another question regarding monitoring doors. What if you're monitoring an overhead door to see if it has been left open too long, but you need more time?
Well, one of the things you can do is close the door and open it again, and then you get the time double, or you can actually bypass the point. So you can just go over to the keypad, this door is broken or we have a big shipment, it's going to be left open a long time, I can just bypass that point at the keypad and that function will be temporarily bypassed until you need it again.
Okay, and what cell providers are your panels compatible with?
Our panels are compatible with Verizon and with AT&T. Most of the systems that we know of out there are using the Verizon service, using our B444 or our B444-V, which is our newest communicator, but we also support AT&T with the B444-A communicator. Both of those communicators are LTE, and they support the latest technology, and they're available now.
Okay, we have time for one last question. If I'm not a dealer, how can I buy a Bosch panel?
Well, we actually have a number of panels that are available through distribution, through ADI and through Triad/Annixter. So our B-Series panels, which actually go up to 96 points, so they can support a rather large commercial facility, are available right through distribution off the shelf. We also have the ability for our larger panels, our 8512 and 9512 panels, which also support commercial fire. You do need to be a dealer, and we can have you contact your regional sales manager on how you can become a dealer.
Great, thanks, Tom. That's all the time we have for today. If we did not get to your question, we'll respond to you personally if you provided your name. We appreciate your attention and hope you'll tune in to our future webinars. You can register at the link shown on the screen. Thank you for attending.